For the second intermediate challenge, we sent a survey to our customers, so you can see the results here. So each row at the moment is representing a customer, and we can see that there are different sections for both the mobile app and the online interface, which they rate 1 to 5. So for example, we've got ease of use here for the mobile app, and then over here we've got ease of use for the online interface. Kind of difficult at the moment for us to make those comparisons. So how can we reshape the data to make that a lot easier? So I'm going to add in a pivot step here just to show you how I would do this. So I use the wildcard search to pivot option for columns to rows. And first of all, I'm going to search for those mobile apps. So I'm just going to type in the word mobile and hit enter, and it's only going to pick up the fields that have the mobile app interface. So it's going to leave all of the online ones still there. So how do I also pivot those down as well? I can add in a second pivot and use a wildcard search to pivot there too, and rename this to be online. So search for all those online fields. So now what you can see is that I've got this pivot one name fields that gets added, and this has all my information about the ease of access, ease of use, so on and so forth. But then I've got this pivot one values, which refers over here to all of my mobile app data. So I just need to rename this to be mobile app, and these scores are what reflects for the mobile app. And then pivot 2 values, this column here, I just need to rename to be online interface. And then I can continue on with my challenge. I think I spelled that wrong there. It's hard to talk and type sometimes, isn't it? So that's what I've done exactly here, the exact same thing. I've just done a few fewer characters in my wildcard pivots, and that multiple pivot means that now I have a row for each customer and then a row for each question that we ask the customer, with these answers referring to the mobile app and these answers referring to the online interface. So I could have done this slightly differently. I could have pivoted all of the answers and then done a second pivot to do rows to columns to get the online app interface and mobile apps columns, but it's nice to do it all in one step, isn't it, to do that multiple pivots there. Okay, so if that's a new technique for you, hopefully that made sense running through. So our next step, we want to change this pivot one names. We want to get rid of the mobile app beforehand, because that's quite misleading having the mobile app before it. So we just want ease of use, ease of access, likelihood to recommend, so on and so forth. So we do a split there on the dash. So from that field, we do that split to split off this additional field here. So going to the menu here, going to split values, custom split, a dash, and this time we just want the last what comes after the separator, basically, rather than what comes before the separator. And that gives us this field here, which we can just quickly rename to be our area. Okay, and as you see here, we've got an overall rating, which, as we're going to do some averaging out of these scores, we actually don't want the overall rating, so we're going to filter out. So just click on it and say exclude. So that's what we do in this step here. So now we've just got 4 rows for each customer in these 4 categories. Now it's time to aggregate up our data. So for each of our customers, we're going to group them, and then we're going to do an average for our online interface and mobile app. So when we drag our fields over to the aggregated field section, by default it's sums. Instead, we're going to do an average value here instead. Okay, so we do that. And then in our next step, we're working out the difference between the mobile app and the online interface. So it doesn't matter too much which way around you do these. You'll just need to make sure that your corresponding calculation for the preference is looking correctly. So we can see that this customer here at the top, they prefer the online interface, and so they have a negative score there, meaning that they're leaning towards the online interface. So we just set up this next calculation. We're saying if this difference field is less than -2, we're going to label them as a mobile app superfan. Ooh, I think I've done it the wrong way around. Let me just check that. Yep, I did get that the wrong way around. So let's just change this to be the other way around. Let's do the online interface minus the mobile app. There we go. I'll just get rid of that minus there and save that. And then if I just double check here, now then that should mean that a negative means that they prefer the mobile app. Yes, indeed, that's now working the way that I would expect. So no matter what, we can always get things slightly wrong, no matter how long we've been doing this for. But the main point is that if it's less than -2, that makes them a mobile app superfan. They really like prefer the mobile app. And if it's less than -1, that just means that they have a preference for it. Otherwise, they're going to be neutral if they're anywhere between -1 and +1. And then similarly for the online interface and the superfan and normal fan. Okay, so now we're going to just group these up now. So we want to know how many customers sit in each of these preferences. So we're going to group by our preferences and count the distinct customer IDs. And then we just want this to be a percent of total instead of exact number of customers. So we want to do a level of detail calculation. So we go to the menu here, go create calculator field, and then fixed LOD. That will give us this visual editor here for our total customers. So we're just summing up all of these number of customers that we renamed this field for the count distinct of the customer ID. And then we can just do a calculation. So we want to do the number of customers times by 100 divided by the total customers. And we're just rounding that to 1 decimal place as well. Get rid of all the unnecessary fields, and there we have it. That's our output for this data. So hopefully you enjoyed this intermediate challenge, and thanks very much for watching.